A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and to our online audience, and welcome to our EAE seminar, Get Ready with TP. I'm Sidda, a third-year student in the Diploma in Marketing.
And I'm Cheyenne, a second-year student from the Diploma in Communications and Media Management, and we will be your MCs for today.
Before we begin today's event, may we kindly request that you switch all electronic devices to their silent mode, please. Just for everyone's knowledge, you are seated according to your choice of school tours later today. Please remain in your seats at the end of the seminar. Our ushers will be happy to lead you out of the TCC according to your chosen academic school. We would also like to draw your attention to the locations of the emergency exits in the convention center. The exits at this level, level 3, are indicated in blue. They are located on both sides and at the back of the hall on this level. The exits at the upper deck, level 4, are indicated in green. In an evacuation, please follow the arrow shown on the screen towards the exits. Our ushers will help you direct you to the nearest exit. Please evacuate in an orderly manner and do not use the lifts.
Once you're out of the building, please follow the usher's instructions and walk briskly to the assembly area at the field next to the swimming pool as indicated in the red circle on the screen. Please do not deviate from this route as there may be a need to account for you. Also, please do not drive out of the premises as you may hinder emergency vehicles that will be arriving. Do note that there are no planned emergency evacuation drills today. If there is a need to evacuate, it is for real.
Hey, Cheyenne, let me ask you a quick question. What do you love most about being a student in TP?
Thanks for asking, Sida. I just love how vibrant our campus is. It's bright, airy, and it's even right next to Bedok Reservoir. Oh, and the food. I must mention the food. The mala at engineering school is super duper good. But how about you, Sida?
Well, for me, it's got to be the caring culture in TP. When I first stepped foot here in year 1, I found that everybody here was very friendly and approachable. And I guess that's why we are called TP Fam. And also, I really like the fact that the lecturers here are very helpful in giving me constructive feedback, advice, and guidance in my assignments, which definitely brings about a great vibe on campus. So, don't take this from me though. Today, our seminar will show you why TP is the place to be. So, Cheyenne, why don't you share with us a story as to how you joined TP via EAE, and which year was this?
It was great, actually. It was just 2 years ago, and I was hesitant and anxious. But after going through workshops, career guidance sessions, and countless of discussions with my family members, I was more than pleased to make the final decision to go through the EAE route. And I must say, it was very reassuring knowing that I've secured a place in my desired course well before the O-levels. So, if I were to give everybody here a tip about EAE, it will be to pursue a course you're really passionate about. Remember, EAE is all about your passion and aptitude. Okay, but before I start rambling on, let's move on to what we're all here for today, our EAE seminar. Today's seminar is aimed at helping you make an informed decision at the upcoming early admission exercise.
And to help us achieve that, we have with us a pair of TP student and parent, as well as our expert panel from the TP Senior Management. Following the main session, we will also be bringing you on an exciting tour of the academic school of your choice. So please remain seated after the Q&A segment to ensure there is no human traffic jam and everyone can leave the convention center and head over to enjoy your tours.
To kick things off for today's seminar, we have our Deputy Principal, Ms. Anita Kwan, who will be sharing more about how you can create your best tomorrow with TP. Ms. Kwan, please.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. I know some of you didn't want to come in, right, because of music vox out there. You were swaying and dancing around, so hopefully that perked up your morning. It's always good to find out who is in the audience. May I have a show of hands? How many of you are TP alumni? Wow, got quite a few. Welcome home. And for those of you who are not in the TP fam, membership is still open because we've got lots of continuing education programs. So don't worry, can still be a member. Okay, so all of you who have signed up for the program would have received a reminder email, right? We did a little experiment, and this is in line of what our students here would go through in the normal course of their study. It's something called flipped learning, which is where you will read the stuff that is sent to you, and then you come back and the lecturers will flesh out in greater detail, whether in the workshop or tutorials. So, may I have a show of hands? If you scroll down to the end of that reminder email, there's this thing about, I never study, right? Common entry programs. Did you see that? How many common entry programs do we have in TP? Oh, I see this. Thank you. Very good student there. 5, right? Did you actually click through to the link to find out what these programs are all about? How many did? Ah, wonderful. I see one hand up there. So you know, they say that children are very often a mirror of their parents. So if students come and they don't do the flip learning, don't scold them because we're also like that. But also no worries because that's why we're here, which leads me into it's good to know what it is you're coming into. So in this short sharing, I hope to give you an essence of what poly education is and a little bit more about TP, so at least you know us and what we do here. Okay, so essentially, we're going to take you through the 3 stars there. I usually say the 3 Ps. One is the physical side of TP, and then the second one is the partnerships that we have, and the third part is about perspective, local and overseas. Yeah. Okay, so correct. 5 entry programs. Chun Ling is going to talk about that in more detail. So 6 schools and 36 diploma courses. For those of us who are not in the education sector, I really do empathize, because can you imagine, one poly already 36 courses, right? And then times 5 of us, it can be really, really quite confusing. But not to worry, I hope all of you will also enjoy your time in the schools, the actual schools, because then you can really do a deep dive into this. Right. So if you want the information, it's also available on our website. So if you don't catch all of what you want to do today, really, no worries. Okay, so if you look at what poly education is, and especially in TP, the student is always at the center of everything we do. And if we look at the student Temasek profile, what we believe in is in line with our Skills Future movement. It's always future-oriented. We look at not just the academic side of the house, which is the domain skills. We also look at life skills. Yeah, we'll go a little bit more in depth. So this is how we envision our students. There's the learner bit, creator, and the leader. So it's quite obvious, lifelong learner, we talk about self-directed. Yeah, just now, the flipped learning, right? Did you do your homework? Some did, some didn't do. Yeah? But it's all about, taking charge of your learning. So the self-directedness and resilience is another part. We often hear that, young people not so resilient these days. So we are mindful of that. And we built that into everything that we do here, whether it's academic focus or life skills focus. Yeah? So that's the first pillar. The second pillar goes to emphasize our future orientation. Right? As we know, some of us may be familiar with Singapore Skills Future, the critical core skills or the life skills which are transferable are held to be as important, if not more important than the domain skills. Right? So problem solving, digitalization, as we know, data is the new black, the new oil, yeah? And innovation and entrepreneurship. Then the third cluster, which is the value-centered leader. If you ask me personally, I would say that this is probably the most important of the 3. Because we can have all the skills we want, but if the skills do not amount to anything, doesn't make a difference to the lives of the community or to Singapore or even beyond, then what for? So if you talk to a lot of futurists in education conferences, this is also what they're starting to say a lot more about. And in TP, we've always really placed an emphasis on this, the values, the character, service orientation, how do you serve the community? Right? So this is in a nutshell, the learner, creator, leader emphasis. So what kind of philosophy or pedagogy, which is a big word, how do we teach? What goes into the curriculum? Applied learning is something that the polytechnics do and do well. In fact, people from all around the world come in to study our system. So what's it all about? Rather than just study theory, do exams, it's about how you apply it in your work, in the industry. So this is, in a nutshell, applied learning. Technology, of course, is, we can't run away from it because of digitalization. So how do we use it in TP? An example, so this is what we call the education technology side of the house. For example, the latest thing we're looking at now, everybody's talking about generative AI, which is ChatGPT, right? Do we use it? How do we use it? So we think about, okay, we can't run away. In fact, we should encourage the use of it, but in an ethical way. So that's one example. We're starting conversations. Lecturers, for example, also use the tools to help students learn better. So there are some students who will need more support, let's say, in a particular topic. So they will trawl through the data to say that, oh, this particular student needs help in this topic. I will recommend that this student looks into this topic, and studies have shown that indeed the student has been able to improve. Or certain students may have special education needs, right? So it's not so much about the topic, but it's about the way you learn. Maybe you need extra support to help you succeed. So technology-enabled learning has helped with that. Right? Industry partnerships, of course, is really the core of what we do, right? Working with industry to co-develop, co-deliver, and sometimes even co-assess the course, so that it's not just study, theory, not like the old days. Some of us, went to higher education and it's like, oh, lecturer, drone, right? So it's a lot more interactive now with industry partners coming in. The last two bits about global education and culture of care, this is something actually that we take pride in. The global exposure, some of you who came in through the West Gate would have seen a global village, right? And that is very clear evidence that we place great emphasis on global awareness. I've got a slide later, which I'll share a little bit more about where we go, what we do, yeah? And culture of care, you heard Sida just now, right? Talk about the culture of care. We didn't prompt him, our own self say one. Yeah? So culture of care has been with us since day one. In fact, yesterday, if you had come, wow, there was lots of activity. It's something that we do twice a year called CCN Day, Campus Care Network. Yeah? And this is where staff and students set up stalls, either game stalls, food stalls, etc., to raise money and funds for the less financially able in our community. So, we really want to live and do what we say, what we believe in. Okay, so the structure. If you look at the two circles at the bottom, this is quite typical, right? You have your core subjects and you have your electives. So core, everybody does. And then electives, if you want to specialize at a particular stage. And every course, every school will do it slightly differently, yeah? But what unites us, and everybody does, is the TP fundamentals. We call it TP Fund for short. I think it's self-explanatory. You look at the topics there. And if you look at the last one, we're all talking about sustainability, right, and climate action. So whatever it is we feel that is needful for students, and then as a community, we come together and say, hey, let's look at it together. And very often, this also results in, this is another buzzword they use in education, which is interdisciplinary learning. So what is it? Something like sustainability cuts across. It's just not one course, one school, but different courses, because that's exactly what happens out there in industry. Right? Who will say, hey, which course are you from? Okay, you do this course, just only do this, right? But no, complex projects, mega projects will require that interdisciplinary approach. So this is a very good platform for that to happen, right? So we talk about some of our facilities, and hopefully you'll get to see some of this in your school tours later. Yeah, we put it broadly as facilities, but there are all sorts. There are centers of excellence, centers of innovation, learning enterprises, all very thoroughly thought through. But essentially, it's about bringing industry into the campus. Yeah, so we get some grants because some of these facilities are very, very expensive, and we have to refresh them so that the learning is current and relevant. So we do get grants from certain agencies. We do applied research in many of these, cutting edge work in others. Some of the industry partners will come in, companies will come in and say, "Hey, I got a problem statement. I need you to solve this problem for my company. Not digital enough. I need to change certain mindsets. I need to change certain work processes." So they will come in, and then our staff and students will work alongside them. So this is a snapshot, not exhaustive. There are a lot more, but I only got one slide. Okay. So for the student, what is it they thrive on? Again, we talk about domain life skills. We also talk about co-curricular activities because it goes back to learner, creator, leader, right? Holistically, the CCAs do form a very significant part of the student's life. For some of us parents, we say you spend too much time on CCAs. So, we've got more than 140 CCAs and counting. We are especially big on sports and arts. Yeah, sports. The recent SEA Games, we had our students won 2 gold. I think one was in men's was water polo, and women's floorball, 2 gold. And then they are able to balance. But we understand that students have all sorts of passion. So when they come in, we also factor this in. Okay, you want to compete in something that's very passionate to you. How do we help you manage your time, manage your workload? Okay, so again, that is something that we believe is important because really many of us who've gone through higher education, what do we remember? It's actually the friends, the partnerships that we make while on campus. Yeah, so that's important as well. Again, a snapshot of the industry partners that we work with. You will, I'm sure, recognize some of the big names. So we really, are very indebted to our industry partners. Many of them are also alumni who've gone on to succeed in life and they want to come and give back. Yeah. So if you are working in a particular industry and you want to work with us, please, come and approach us. I'm sure we can work out something. Yeah. So this is an example of industry partnership. This partnership with Lufthansa has really been working very well since 2008. SAR 147, for those of you in business, you would know this is quite a big thing to be trained in this area. In fact, I think we had our first RSAF fighter pilot. Was it fighter pilot? Pilot lah, RSAF. Don't ask me all these big army things. That one, my boss very good. You can ask him later. You ask him anything about the army, MINDEM, and all that, he will answer you. Okay, but the wonderful thing about this student is she got her private pilot license when she was here as well. So, again, we try to work with the student to meet their aspirations. Yeah. This one, everybody like. Culinary, food. So we have the best of faculty from around the world, and CIA is very well known to come in to teach, to work with us. Many awards that we have won across, not just for culinary design school, it's one of those business school, a lot of awards. So we're really very proud of them. The best thing for me is, that's why you see my size, I cannot lose weight. Because we've got so many training restaurants on campus. We've got fine dining, we've got healthy food, bistro. So, part of what we like is our lecturers, the instructors, are very much plugged into industry. You can see here that Aloysius, he was handpicked to join the national team to compete in the Expogast World Cup, and they came back with 2 gold. Yeah. So again, an example of industry partnerships. I think I won't delve into this because it's available on our website. You can read their stories, but everybody who has gone through this has always said how wonderful the experience is. And I think the true test of it is when the industry partners, internship companies say, hey, we want to keep your students, can or not? Can the student not go back to school because he or she is doing such wonderful work? I think that is a huge testimony that indeed polytechnic education in TP has allowed them to be so much in demand. So we actually do have a certain programs also that enable the students to be out in industry for longer than the typical 4 to 6 month internship. Yeah? But even if they don't get internships, there are all these touch points. If you were aware of the F1 the last year, our students went to the hospitality suite, the VIP suite. Wow, who wouldn't want to go, right? Yeah. So they had a great experience cooking, preparing food for the VIPs. And then the Bordalo installation. This one, again, our industry partner came and said, hey, we've got this Portuguese renowned artist. Would you like to be involved? So our School of Design students went up to be involved. You may have seen this installation at Gardens by the Bay. And we thought we will tempt you, lah. This is what they served at F1. And in fact, when we had some ministers visit us, we also served them this food in TP, which everyone enjoyed. Yeah. So again, very real. They learned their skills, they translated outside. Okay, going global. So what we do is we try to give every single student an opportunity to go abroad. Okay, we try our best, but obviously sometimes the students may not be able to go for various reasons. But we have this one is a nationwide MOE directive about 70-70, as in 70% of students should be sent for overseas exposure, and 70% of this group would be going to places in ASEAN, China, and India. So in TP, we, in fact, the recent trip in May, what we do is we have something called Flex Week, right? Some, depending on the Polytechnic, they may choose to send their students out typically during vacation time. In TP, what we do is we know that this is important. Important means we must put it as part of our academic semester. So we have Flex Week, where we free up 2 weeks for the students to go out on such overseas trips. Right? So we sent about 770 students to 6 countries in May this month. A lot of work, huh? Got to get the whole TP community, yeah, lecturers, even our admin staff will go to help support, because students are precious to us. We must make sure that we care for them properly overseas. So we feel as a TP community, it is worth doing. Because the global exposure, experiencing life abroad, you cannot Netflix it. You have to experience it. Right? So that's what we believe in, and we will continue to do. This is aside from the overseas internships that we also curate. And because we're plugged into what we call the Univoc network, and we're the only poly that is in this network, member of this network, it's very extensive. We have partners all around the world, and because we're part of the network, we have that reputation, we have the branding. They are happier and more relieved that quality is guaranteed with TP and TP students. Right, so definitely in time to come, you look at the numbers that we have to send out, yeah, it's really a lot, but it's such a meaningful experience. Yeah. So these are some of the countries and some of the pictures of our students going out, always having a good time. It's challenging somewhat because COVID is still around, so obviously, a lot more effort to mount such trips. So these, again, I'm not going to go through because you will be able to see this. And I believe we also have a student and a parent to share later, so it's more real coming from them. This one is interesting because Daniel was working as a Scoot crew member. And COVID hit, and then he rethought, hey, what should I do with my life? Should another COVID hit? So, after career conversations, he decided that he would join our hospitality program. And, since then, I think he has really benefited from it and grown in his journey. Yeah. And again, Lucas is doing very well, coming through the EAE route. Yeah, sustainability being a big thing. Okay, so this is just a listing. Again, I won't go through all, but a lot of awards that TP has won. And it's really because of the students working alongside lecturers. I think hand in hand, that partnership, learning together, is something that we value. In terms of the Lee Hsien Loong Award, if you look at that, this is a very prestigious national award because it looks at both academic and non-academic achievements. And I think some of the other polys are quite envious of TP because we really have had a lion's share of the winners in this particular award. Right? So we participate in World Skills, yeah? And yeah, I think it's self-explanatory. Again, in terms of the awards that are won. Yeah. Yeah. Just again, a snapshot. And again, Flip Learning, everything available on our TP website if you want to study in depth, because it's probably a lot of information for you to digest today. Yeah, please do browse around our website. Okay. So I guess that ends my time. Should I pass it back to Sida and Cheyenne? Yes, okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Miss Kwan. Let's give a round of applause to Miss Kwan. So, like Miss Kwan shared, our CCA groups are actually quite fun and exciting. And personally for me, I actually look forward to CCA meetings every week because it's quite fun for me. So, remember that beyond the academic side of things, our campus lifestyle itself is what makes us unique. So, a gentle reminder to everyone here today, please submit any questions on EAE that you may have via the QR codes flashed on the screen.
Now moving on to our next segment, we would now like to invite our Director for Academic Affairs, Mr. Seng Chun Ling, to walk you through the early admission exercise. He will be sharing about the application process and some tips and advice to ensure you or your child have all the insights you need to do well at the EAE. Mr. Seng, please.
A very good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Just now the QR code was shared on screen. If you have scanned that, please feel free along the way, as I do this presentation, submit your questions in. I think the whole purpose of us inviting you here and you taking the time here is actually more to address the questions that you have and hopefully provide you with some useful information and some tips that will help in your application for EAE. So if you have missed the scanning of the QR code, not to worry, I'm sure they will show that up again later on. Okay? Anita mentioned that in Temasek Polytechnic, we have the 36 diploma courses that you can apply through EAE and the 5 common entry program. When it comes to EAE, basically what we are looking at as we open up applications for the students here taking O-levels at the end of the year, to have an early opportunity to secure your place in the course of your choice, or for ITE students in the final year, even before you sit for the final exams, to be able to be offered a place and secure that place to be able to join us come next year. And primarily it's meant for students who are quite clear as to the fact that they want to do a polytechnic education and also a particular interest or passion for a course. For example, if you're interested in aerospace engineering, you're interested in early childhood, you're interested in marketing, you're interested in international trade and logistics, you have a particular interest in an area that's related to a diploma that we are offering to you through EAE. Very often parents come and say, or students say, no, I'm not so clear as to what I would want to specialize in as yet, but I'm interested in business in general, I'm interested in engineering in general, I'm interested in IT, but I have yet to decide which aspect of IT to specialize in. That's where you can consider the common entry program when it comes to EAE. Okay? So it gives you the time to decide as you join us for that common program, whether it be for a year or for a semester, depending on which one you're joining us in. It gives you the time to find out as you take the common subjects. It'll give you a good foundation. It'll give you good exposure. We'll provide you with the ECG, the educational guidance. You get to do some industry visits. And along the way, you'll gain that clarity as to which area to specialize in. Then you join that particular diploma at the end of the common entry program. Okay? So, common entry program, whether it be common science, common business, common design, common engineering, or common ICT program, would be the way to go if you want more time to decide on the area of specialization. But if at this point you say, yes, I'm already quite clear which diploma to join, by all means put that in for EAE. So along the way, please feel free, you can snap any of the slides that you find useful, and at the end of the presentation, I'll show you as well where you can go to get a lot more details on what we're presenting. After this, we'll most welcome questions from you as we do the panel discussion later on. What's EAE all about? At the beginning of this month, at the earlier part of May, we conducted the graduation ceremony for more than 4,000 of our diploma graduates in this same convention center. We had more than 4,000 graduates, and out of that 4,000 plus, 1,000 of them joined us through EAE. And that's the number that we are looking at as we look at next year's intake. We'll be taking in more than 4,000 again come next year for our diploma courses. And we are hoping to take in about 1,000 just from EAE. So if you work out, you can roughly tell what will be the percentage like, okay? But it is not so much the percentage, but more we're interested to hear from you. What is your area of interest? What is your area of passion? Which diploma you're interested in, or the common entry program? We would like you to show us, demonstrate to us your passion for that course, how you pursue those passions, and we'd like you to show to us your aptitude for those courses. And that's what EAE is about. It is meant for students with strong aptitude and interest in that course. So, why is EAE important? Because we find that interest, passion, and aptitude for the course will go a long way in helping you achieve success in terms of our studies, in terms of our overall development within the Polytechnic. I mentioned the 1,000 that joined us through EAE that graduated recently. And out of that 1,000, when we checked their O-level results for those who came in through O-levels, half of them actually will not be able to join the course if they are waited for joint admission exercise. If they are waited for the O-level results to come out first and use that O-level results to apply through EAE, through JAE, the joint admission exercise, they will have missed the cutoff point for our courses and not be able to join us through JAE at a later stage. But they came in through EAE. And they did as well as those who came in through JAE, just based on O-level results. When it came to the academic results at the end upon graduation, in terms of their grade point average, the students did as well when I compare the EAE group to the JAE group. Okay? In fact, when we look at the top students, that graduated the top 10% with our diploma in merit, and those students who were able to win awards, whether it be course medals, or we have a special class award called the Skills Mastery Award for students who are able to excel both in studies and in skills mastery. The EAE group outperformed the JEE group. Why? Because the passion and the aptitude for courses that you're interested in will go and take them much further. Okay? That's why we put so much emphasis on EAE. Yes, also we're interested in taking students who have excelled in terms of their CCA, whether it be within the secondary schools, ITE, or outside, or those who have excelled in terms of entrepreneurship and leadership, community service, and so on. I think a lot of you will know the period for application. If you have yet to take note of the dates, please just snap a picture of this. Once the application come in, we will look through the application, look at the write-up, and we will shortlist a group to join us for interview and the aptitude test. And that'll be done from July all the way till mid-August. Okay? So you put in the application, and then we will contact you and let you know when to take part in our aptitude test, when to prepare your portfolio, and come for interview for the shortlisted group. Then applicants who are offered places will be able to accept them online through the same application portal. Very important, once you have put in the application, to go back on the 6th of September, go back in, check the results. If you're offered, there is a need to accept the offer. If you do not go in and we offer you a place, if you do not accept it, that place will be dropped. Okay? So very important, take note of the date. You need to go back in, check the results of the posting. If you're offered, accept the place there. Okay, what do you do for EAE application? At the point when you go in, you will be able to put in the 3 choices. The 3 choices can come from a particular field that you're interested in. For example, if you're interested in sciences, you can say put in vet tech if that's the one that you most prefer. Then followed by common science program, for example, or another course, for example, medical biotech, and then a third choice, say common science. You can be 3 choices within the same field of study, within the same poly. It can be 3 choices across different fields of study. For example, if you're interested in IT, you can put in Diploma in Information Tech. You can put in Common ICT Program. And then the third choice, you say, I'm also interested in business. You can also put in a Diploma in Business for your third choice, for instance. Okay? So it can be across different fields. It can even be across different polytechnics. Up to you. Okay? So put in the 3 choices. You'll be able to put in a write-up for each of the 3 choices as to why you're choosing that course. Tell us more about how you pursue your interests. Tell us your involvement in CCA, and so on. That's your write-up. Give us some examples of how you pursue the interest. And all that, what you could do is prepare everything nicely in a Word document, do your editing. Parents can always help out. And then when you're done, just copy and paste over to the application portal. Some examples, okay? Not fully exhaustive, but the whole idea is it need not be a long write-up. It can be a very short write-up. Basically, we would like to hear from you more about your interest, passion for the course, and how you pursued that. Okay? So here's an example. If you have done some part-time work, okay, tell us what you have learned from the part-time work. If you have done some community service through the schools and outside, tell us more about that. Okay. Then for those of you who have been very involved in CCA and achieved a lot, tell us as well your involvement in CCA. And if you have attended additional workshops as part of your studies in the school, tell us what you have learned from it. and related to the course that you're applying for, how you pursue that interest. Okay? So these are some examples. So that's the application part. In the application, do your write-up, submit it in. When it comes to selection, our lecturers from the course will look at it, will study it, and then we will pick up from there and invite you to come in for an aptitude test or for the interview. So what do we do when it comes to selection? Basically, we're interested to find out more about you, and we will look at the write-up as one. Secondly, we will put you all through for the applicants, request you all to come in, whether it be online or on-site, go through some aptitude tests, and to go through interviews, okay? So how will the EAE selection be done? So sometimes it'll be done through online mode. Okay, we will drop you an email. So very important, when you submit an application, do check your email addresses. We'll use that email addresses to contact you. We'll provide you with a link for some courses, send you the link to do an online aptitude test. The instructions will be there to let you know what to do when it comes to the online aptitude test. Or if it's an on-site test, we'll let you know the date and the time to come by, okay? So check out on that, the emails that will be sent out to you. Most of the interviews will be done on campus. Sometimes we may make use of online mode as well. But not to worry if you have any difficulties in coming on site, on campus, or if you have difficulties getting online, just contact us. There'll be a contact details provided. So just contact us. We will make alternative arrangements if you face any difficulty, okay, whether it be coming on site or online. Going into the specifics on the selection, if it's for an interview, these are some tips. Go in early, come earlier into the online platform or come earlier on site. Then read out on the course. Okay, very often we will ask, tell us about your interest in the course. Don't let us know that you do not know much. If you need more information, go and read out more ahead. Check out our website, find out more what the course is about, what kind of careers we are preparing you for. So come prepared for that. And very important, tell us why you're interested in the course and how you pursue that interest. If at this point you say, oh, I don't have much to show, I don't know much, you have now, between now and July, quite a lot of time to find out more details. In terms of portfolio, basically the portfolio is a collection of evidences. The focus will not be so much on your academic achievements. Okay, the focus is more on displaying your passion, interest, and on the course and what you have learned through your past involvement. So the portfolio is meant for that. It's a collection of evidences to demonstrate all those areas. Okay, for those of you interested in our design courses and our IIT courses, do put together some of your creative work, okay, into the portfolio, or it could be linked to some website that display what you have done. Very important slide. When it comes to EAE, if you're offered a place, go into the portal, accept the offer. Before later part of the year, there's still a chance to change your mind and do a withdrawal from EAE, that the EAE place that has been confirmed for you. But at the end, for O-level students, when you do sit for your O-level exams at the end of the year, do your best, study hard between now and then. If there are certain subjects that you find you need to brush up more on, do spend the effort, do well. Do very well in your English, do very well in your mathematics and related subjects. Okay? Why? Because for every course that you accept through EAE, there is a minimum entry requirement. For English, whether it be 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 for the grade, There's a minimum entry requirement for mathematics, so you need to make sure you pass and do well. And then for related subjects. Okay, so you need to meet our minimum entry requirements, or and 26 points and below. Otherwise, the EAE place will be taken away, and you have to apply for other courses through joint admission exercise come next year, January. Okay? For IT students, likewise, do well in your final exams so that at the end of it, you'll get the minimum GPA. Okay, good. I'll hand the time. Thank you, everybody, for following this. Let me hand the time to the MC.
Thank you, Mr. Seng. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Seng. I'm sure his segment has been so helpful and provided you with lots of tips on how to help your child secure a spot in their favorite poly and course. We're excited for the next segment because you now get to hear from two guests who have gone through EAE for our parent and student sharing session. They will be sharing their EAE experience and hopefully giving some useful tips and advice. Without further ado, let's welcome our moderator, Ms. Pat Chong, our parent, Ms. Eileen Yap, and TP student, Celeste.
Good morning, everyone, and really nice to have all of you here today with us for the EAE seminar. And let me introduce the two lovely ladies with me on stage today. Nearest to me, we have Celeste Lim. And Celeste is a Year 3 student from the Diploma in Law and Management from the School of Business. And Celeste has come through the EAE route, and since then, not only has she enjoyed and done well academically, she has also contributed a lot as a student ambassador as well, being involved in major events such as the Open House and the EAE. And if you find her a little bit familiar, Celeste is the face of TP's Creating Tomorrow tagline campaign that's been moving on the buses through Singapore these couple of months. So thank you, Celeste, for being with us. And further down, we have a parent, Miss Eileen Yap. Her daughter came through the EAE exercise last year and is a School of Design student from the Diploma in Communication Design. Eileen is a working mum who champions inclusivity in society through a movement called Fashion for a Social Cause. She is also the founder of local fashion label Noel Caleb and the social enterprise, The Fashion Runway. So welcome, Celeste and Eileen. Good to have you here. And without further ado, let's get some tips and advice from them. I'll start today's dialogue session with a question for Celeste, actually. Celeste, tell us, how did you decide on EAE as a route of application to TP? And how did you get the information to make your choices then?
Thank you, Pat. I think one major thing that contributed to it was the fact that my alma mater, Bedok Green, was very near to TP. So I did have a lot of seniors that did get into TP via EAE. Another factor is that my secondary school teachers, they did keep transparency and open communication with us on the different pathways that we could pursue via EAE, JEE, and DSA. So if I'm not wrong, they did show us a video on some of our alumni that did manage to get into different polytechnics via EAE, their stories, the process, things like that, yeah.
And were your parents generally supportive of your choices as well? And how did they help you through that?
I think one majority, big factor was I came in, I think, right at 2020. So my O-level year and my EAE year was right at the height of the pandemic. So they were at home with me majority of the time as well. So they were quite involved in the process of me applying to TP via EAE. And I think because my parents and I were from Malaysia, so they don't really have the, distinction between going to JC or poly, yeah.
I see. And perhaps let's hear from Eileen as a parent. From the parent's perspective, how did you, work this out with your daughter in terms of her choices of the different courses that she was exploring? Perhaps you could share that with us.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Hi, everyone. So I'm very honored to be here because last year, this time, I was very worried for the child, right? So I think for youngsters, it's always like what was shared, like not sure what they would like to do in the future. You know, yeah, being in secondary school is different. You're exposed to everything. And then suddenly in poly, you may have to choose a certain track. So I think that we did talk to the child, my daughter. So she was exposed to through the various courses, through open houses, yeah, and EAE seminars. So I think that helps where you actually get to talk to the lecturers, talk to the, I think, students itself, and I think that helps. And of course, I think for her, because she has always been drawing and designing, yeah, since in primary school. So we felt that maybe she would be happier doing something that she enjoyed doing. So that's how we gradually was very, very excited when School of Design actually was the choice that was what she wanted.
I see. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the portfolio, which is, I think, top of mind for many of our parents and students here today. So for Celeste, you know, when you applied for the Diploma in Law and Management and you went in for the interview, you had to prepare a portfolio. Maybe, you know, share with us a little bit in terms of what went into that portfolio and how the whole interview, you know, actually went.
I think for something as course specific as mine, law and management is not a very creative course. You can't show your drawing to them, things like that. But instead, I think what helped is that a family member of mine does own a boutique law firm, and I did help run errands for them during the school holidays. So things like that you can put into your portfolio. I believe that you can never go overboard with achievements. Like, you can state whatever CCA you're in, whatever competitions you've been a part of. For example, I was in dance, and I used to go for a lot of competitions like Super 24, SYF, things like that. So you can state any sort of achievements you have, whether be academic or not. For my EAE process itself, so for my course, we had to do an aptitude test. So after you send in your write-up, they'll follow up with you maybe a week later. For me, it was like a week. For an aptitude test. Mine was online because of the pandemic. They give you some MCQ questions that might be related to your course or not, but there will be an open-ended segment where, for example, for me, they did give me like a real-life case, and they don't exactly expect you to have knowledge that's very in-depth in your course of study, but they more want to see your thought process as to how you come about to your answer. Yeah. Then after that will be the interview, which is the most terrifying part, I would say, because for me, since it was online, there were some other students that couldn't get into the chat room, so it was just me versus 3 other interviewers.
Okay, that must have been very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I guess so. And because you don't know what they're going to ask you and what they're going to expect of you, yeah.
But in the end, it all went really well. I'm sure they were very friendly.
Yes. Some of them.
Nothing to worry about.
They're all my lecturers now.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to hear. I guess for parents then, it's a little bit more nerve-wracking and a bit worrying when you see your daughter going through the interview and preparing for a portfolio. Any tips that you could share with parents today in terms of how you supported your daughter through that process?
Yes, so I think for a child that's about 14, 15, you know, they by right should be starting their portfolio, right? So I mean, for design, I guess it's not like homework. So only when she does a bit of her sketch here and there, and she's in the art club for my daughter. So sometimes we don't even get to see anything. So you being you, they kind of like sometimes hide things, you know. Yeah, so when it comes to submission of portfolio, I was like scrambling for evidence. So where are the things that I can now take a nice picture of it? So I think I remember calling back the school art club teacher, yeah, to say like, can I actually have a snapshot, or is there anything that I can scan? Yeah, so that's one thing that maybe can start to ask the child, you know, to keep the copy. Yeah, so that was that process. I think other than that, because when she's at home, and then every little bits of things that she does, to me is very precious. Yeah, so when it comes to submission, we did together a portfolio, like a website, yeah, I mean with her inputs mostly, so it was good to keep it there, and it's good for review as well.
I see, okay. I think in an earlier conversation, Eileen, you actually mentioned that your daughter was part of a fundraiser that you did some years ago, and you let her do a little bit of design there. Would you say, experiences like that would be useful in terms of a portfolio or an interview as well?
Yes, so I mean, in my course of work, we run a lot of community-led events for the underprivileged. So during events, I was busy, so I told her, never mind, that day you can set up a booth, a table with, she likes to do calligraphy drawing, and then she paints. So I left it to her and said, okay, maybe you can help us by raising some proceeds to the cause, and she set up a little table. So when the event started, and she came back and she said she is now done. I was like, what do you mean by done? I sold all the paintings, all the things that she wrote. Yeah, so that was a good exposure to also let her understand that, hey, actually, if you're good in something, like you have a talent, maybe you can do it in a purposeful way. You can also help the community. So let her understand what is real projects and real usefulness of the talent as well.
Thank you, Eileen. And for Celeste, did you have many conversations with your parents, perhaps, in terms of your choices, the 3 choices that you had to make at EAE?
I think I was quite solid in what I wanted to pursue, but I did have a second backup choice, and that was going to business. So it was always within that realm.
I see.
Yeah, because I'd say my strong points have always been English and literature. So the business faculty is very centered around that, and my math has always been horrible. So IT and engineering has never been in my list.
I see,
yeah.
Okay. And your parents were always supportive then?
Yeah, I think they believe that they don't want to force me into anything, because ultimately they think it's my future, my life. Yeah.
So important to have these conversations right ahead of time before you make the choices.
It's very good to have transparency with your parents, because ultimately they do sort of affect your emotional well-being. If at the end of the day they are not happy with your choice, obviously it's not a nice feeling lah. So I feel like if you both the parent and the student can come to some sort of agreement, middle ground, that'll be great at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, and now having gone through the EAE, and you're in the school itself already, pursuing your diploma, anything, when you look back on that process, was there a learning point that perhaps you'd like to share today?
I guess thinking out of the box is a very good thing to do, because, for example, one of the questions that they gave me during the interview was to discuss with them like a current global issue. And since it was 2020, I thought, okay, everyone's going to talk about COVID-19. So I made it a point not to mention it at all. Instead, I talked about sustainability and climate change, and I talked about Greta Thunberg at the time. Yeah, things like that. So I would say, try and think of something that no one else will talk about, something that will make you stand out to the interviewer. Yeah.
Okay, that's a really good point. Thank you very much. One last question, actually, for Eileen. Now that you've also gone through this as a parent, what do you think would be the most important point for parents here to bear in mind when they are working with their children, to make these choices?
I think like from what we hear earlier on was to find out the passion of the child, but sometimes it's also not easy. So, so I think small little steps is a big step, along the journey, I think, to give them affirmation, because sometimes we throw a big life question to a child to say, what is your passion? And then they probably are clueless. So I think to let them be aware, bringing them to performance, to talk to real people, going to places, letting them get involved in things, in an authentic way. That way they may find their passion. Yeah, and I think being in a tertiary education is also very much about, I think, skills-based. So sometimes it's very difficult for them to do secondary school, theory, and then after that go practitioner. So I think can start their journey earlier with them.
Okay, thank you so much. And how is she enjoying the experience so far?
So far, it's good. I mean, like, she is adapting to the new life, yeah, and I think it's good that because all the students are going through the course of their choice. So it helps that you have very motivated, I think, friends and support group as well. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Celeste and Eileen, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eileen Yap and Celeste, for the insightful sharing. And of course, thank you, Pat, for moderating the session. I'm quite confident that all of you have a better understanding of EAE from a perspective of a parent and a student. We have now come to the most important segment of today's seminar. This is where we seek to answer all the burning questions you may have about EAE. Just a gentle reminder, should you have any school or diploma-specific questions, your host at the school tours will be happy to provide you with more information as well. Without further ado, let's invite our panelists, our principal, Mr. Peter Lamb, our deputy principal, Ms. Anita Kwan, and Mr. Sung Chun Ling, the Director of Academic Affairs.
Morning, everyone. Thank you very much for taking time to join us this morning in Temasek Polytechnic. To all the students and parents, really appreciate and grateful for your interest in TP and for making Temasek Polytechnic the most popular choice among all the polytechnics for EAE. Every year we receive, I think, close about 2,000 plus applications, and we give out places numbering at about 1,000, which is about 25% of the intake that we will take in every year for the diploma courses. It is a pretty high number, largely because of what Chun Ling has mentioned. The students that we take in via EAE, they do very, very well, largely because they are driven by passion for the course that they study in. So it's something that we really want to give as much opportunities to students as possible who have expressed an interest in the course, so that you can come to TP and develop the interest further. When I listen to Cheyenne and Cider, it's actually very heartening and very gratifying to see how they have matured into very confident adults as well, very confident individuals. Many of the students, when they come in, they are very shy. Like what Eileen said, they don't really like to show what they have done. But after coming into the poly, they grow a lot in confidence, largely because of the training that we provide to them, very industry-specific, industry-relevant, and they really have to go out and engage their students, their fellow classmates, the lecturers, as well as the industry. So they do grow a lot in confidence when they are together with us. Anita also showed a lot of achievements and accolades that TP has garnered. Behind those achievements and awards that our staff and students have garnered, it is really a lot of hard work, and it is something that we hold dear to in terms of philosophy and attribute, which is really doing our best for the students. Just want to thank all of you once again for your interest in TP, and certainly we hope to be able to answer as many of the questions that you have with regards to EAE, with regards to the education that you will be going through when you come into the polytechnics, and the opportunities that you can avail yourself to when you're with us. So please feel free to ask any questions. You can raise your hand, and shout out your question, or please submit your question through Pigeonhole through the QR code that has been posted. Sorry, not on the slide now, but I think it was on the slide previously. So yeah, without further ado, we'll go through the questions. I think a lot of questions has been answered. I was scanning through the questions, and quite a few of the questions have been answered by Chun Ling during his presentation. But certainly, I think we would like to see how we can address further queries that you may have with regards to the process itself, and other questions that you may have about polytechnic education.
Yeah, so I think in terms of what do interviewers look for in in an interview, we've talked about attitude, aspirations. Here's one question that maybe flips it a little bit. What are the common mistakes done by students during an interview? And I suppose even in the application, what not to do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. As I mentioned, first and foremost, do read up on the course. Do think about why you're interested in a course and be able to verbalize it when it comes to the interview. Please do not tell the interviewers that you're selecting EAE because you're scared of the O-levels. Don't tell us that. Even though if it's true, don't tell us. Basically, the interview is meant to be a conversation. We just want to find out more about you and why find out more about your interests, your passion, and why you're interested to apply to the particular course. It is not meant to be a job interview, so no need to be frightened by it. It is a chance for you to have a good conversation with the lecturers as well. Okay, so just come prepared, come having thought through some of the areas related to the application, related to the course. Yeah. In terms of the application write-up, there is a limit on the number of characters you can put in. However, there's no need to put in a lot of details all crammed out inside. But show to us, tell us why you're interested in the course, how you pursue that interest, for the involvement that you have participated in school or outside of school. Tell us what you have learned in particular. Okay, it may be related to the course or it may not, but we want to at least learn more about you as an individual. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the other popular question is this one. Applicants are allowed to apply for 3 courses of their choice, but can they receive more than one offer? I'm going to combine it with another few questions that I've seen further down, fewer votes, but I think it's related in terms of, must I put TP first? Because I think someone even mentioned that in another poly, I know that if I put that poly as number 2 or number 3, I'm not even going to be considered. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anita, and thank you for those questions. First of all, when you put in the three choices, when it comes to offer, the computer system will actually check. Even if you are offered by all 3 courses, there's only one final offer that you will see. Okay, for example, you applied to TP, say psychology first choice, and then another poly for a different course, and you have been asked to go for interview and you have been successful to be recommended a place by the different polys. When we enter that offer into the computer system will just give to you your top choice course that you have been accepted into. So there's only one offer, and you will not know whether you've been offered for the others or not. Okay, and you cannot come back and check because the computer system only gives that one offer. As to the second question, will you be called up, shortlisted for interview and so on, if it's a second choice or third choice? And how should you then list down your preferences in terms of the 3 choices? There's no fixed answer to that because it depends very much on what is the course that you're putting in and how many more students have also applied for the same course. For instance, our diploma in psychology is a very, very popular course when it comes to EAE application. And we may receive like 3-4 times more than the number of places that we are able to offer. So when it comes to shortlisting for interviews and aptitude tests, we are not able to call everyone in at first. What we try to do for most of our courses is we'll invite everyone in, at least for the aptitude test. Then from there, give you a chance to demonstrate your interest, aptitude, before we do the shortlisting for interview. So sometimes we do open up that way, but there are times when we can't. And if that's the case, then we may focus more on those who have put us first choice. Okay, because why? There is a limit on what we can do. So in that sense, the order of your choice is important. Go for what you're most interested in, most passionate about first. We will, as far as possible, try and also consider the second and third choices. Okay, why? Because we do know that sometimes you're torn between some. And we have offered places as well to those with second and third choice also. Thanks.
Just to add on to what Chuling has mentioned, some courses in TP that we were taking students of up to 50% of the intake for that particular course. These are typically the more skills-based course, or the courses where you really need to have a passion in the course to be able to do well, like for example, early childhood. So these are courses that we try to max out and take in about 50% of the intake, leaving 50% of the rest of the other intake for admission via the joint admission exercise, as well as for direct admission exercise, those from international schools, for example. For other courses, we have to, unfortunately, cap it at about 25%. It's not a cap that we want to impose, because some courses are really very popular. We wish we can give more, but unfortunately, there is a certain limit that MOE impose on the institutions, largely because we really want to give opportunities for students who haven't quite made up their minds in June to apply for the course and want to wait until the O-levels, when the O-level results are out, before they make a choice. So for most of the other courses, we do have a cap of about 25% in terms of the intake for the course. And I believe TP is one of the polytechnics that really max out our limit, really because of the popularity of our interest in EAE, as well as what I mentioned earlier, the students who come in via EAE, they really do very well in the course of studies. Yeah.
I suppose this is also related to the next question, quite a number of votes as well. You did mention, Peter, the number of places set aside for Poly, EAE, TP, right? The distribution across all 6 schools, obviously not equal. So would you like to, either of you like to add on to that?
Maybe very quickly, I would say design school, they probably have a lot more places set aside for EAE, because you really need, to demonstrate a passion and the inclination, for the course. And it is also perhaps relatively easier to assess. You have built up a portfolio, and we can see what you have done. The other area would be in IT, where it is also very, very skills-based as well. Another area would be culinary, which is also highly skills-based, and the other courses, which would be what I mentioned earlier, early childhood. We do require the student to have a passion for working with young children. Nursing, not offered in TP, but offered in Nanyang Poly, also requires that passion to work with other people, and that's where the early admission exercise can go up as high as 50%.
Just to add, apart from IT, our informatics and IT courses, design, early childhood, culinary, where we do go up to 50% of the intake through EAE, as Peter had mentioned. It is not a trade-off in the sense, it does not mean we give them 50%, then the other schools got to suffer and come much lower. Okay, it is not done that way. It is very much based on the number of applications that come in, and us wanting to offer as many places as possible to all the applicants, to allow them to demonstrate their passion, their attitude, and give them those places as far as we could. Okay, it's done from that perspective, yeah, and not just purely numbers.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions on tips, how to ace this and ace that. I'm just going back to what Eileen was sharing just now about that conversation and knowing what the child wants. I think this is also quite an important bit to really ascertain that this is the course for you, rather than, okay, let's just get in, and max out our chances. I think that conversation is important. But having said that, I think, in terms of the practical bits, this question about school exams, test results, do we look at it? Only Sec 4, Sec 3, Sec 2, Sec 1? How far back does it go?
Okay, the short answer is no. Academic results in secondary school are not considered when it comes to EAE. Okay, but in terms of courses that you're applying for instance, if you're applying for our applied science courses, then we will be interested to see how you're doing your science subjects in secondary school, right? if you're applying for engineering courses and IIT courses, we do not specifically look at your mathematics results, but at least we need to see that you're comfortable in terms of mathematics. You should not be failing mathematics all the time and struggling with it and then think about going to IIT or engineering courses. So in terms of that sense, yes, but specific exam results from your secondary school, no, we are not going to be looking at that. Okay. Yeah.
So generally, we do want to look out for interest. Why do you apply for this course? It must be born out of a certain interest, a certain aspiration that you as a young adult will have. Also look at aptitude as well. Having just the interest and passion without the aptitude sometimes can be quite challenging for you to do well in the course. Yeah, so if you have the interest, the aspiration, and the aptitude, naturally, the chances of you doing well in the course will be much, much higher. Yeah, so like what Chuning mentioned, if you apply for a certain course, law and management, for example, like what Celeste mentioned, we do want to look at how you have done in English and literature, because it does require you to have a good command of the language in order for you to do well. So these are areas that we look at.
And a practical question as well in terms of if you're shortlisted for the interview and sick or urgent matter, some already planned family holidays cannot be around, what happens?
When we send you the email to provide the details on coming for our aptitude tests and interviews, there will also be a contact details provided. So just come back to us, let us know you cannot make it. We will make the alternative arrangements. Okay.
So no fear, we will help. There's a question on digital portfolio. How do we present a digital portfolio for the interviews?
Good question. Yeah. Not an issue. What you could do is wherever you store that in, whether it be online, whether it be through a shared folder, just provide us with a link for that. No need to put that in when you do the application write-up, okay? Because we are not able to go into too much details when it comes to the application part of it. But once you're shortlisted, when it comes to the interview, just put that in the email to us if we are asking for the portfolio, or come prepared with it, whether it be hard copy. If it's an online digital form, you may want to bring your laptop in as well, okay? Maybe just a quick example. Many years back when I was part of the panel doing the interview, I have an applicant that came in and brought along the laptop, and that was so many years ago when it was not as common. Brought in the laptop and said, let me show you the website that I've done in terms of marketing, or let me show you the Excel file that keeps track of my profit and loss for my blog shop. Okay, things like that. It's something simple, but you can demonstrate that. Someone came in and said, oh, let me show you what I sell through my blog shop. Then she took out one pair of torn jeans. So show us something, okay? Then you can tell us more about your interest.
Yeah. There's a question about meeting criteria, and perhaps there's a lot of misconception here, right? What if the child doesn't meet the academic criteria or minimum entry point where the O-level results are? I think, Johnny, you did mention this. Can the place be held? Probably no need to hold the place, right? Because they've already got a place with us. You want to talk about? Yeah.
Okay. So very important, must meet the minimum entry requirement of the course for O-level students. Check out our website. It's basically English, mathematics, and certain subjects or certain number of subjects beyond that. Very simple, it's 1 to 6 or 1 to 7. Then overall, 26 and below. The 26 and below, you can take into account your CCA bonus points. So for instance, a student who gets 28 points in total for 5 subjects, minus off CCA of 2 points, that's 26, and you qualify, okay, with that 26-point net. So that's number one. Then secondly, if the student have lost a place because it did not meet the minimum entry requirement, that student will be able to do the joint admission exercise to apply for other courses that he's interested in. Okay? The EAE place will be revoked, meaning that you'll be dropped out fully. It cannot be kept. However, if a student were to go and retake O-level, you have another chance. You get to apply for EAE again in the year that you're retaking O-level. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose if EAE is not in the offering, JAE is another option, if not the following year. Yeah. This one is quite interesting because we talked about ChatGPT, right? And this one, I think the school directors also have to take note. How do you shortlist students for the first round? Because the write-up can be done by parents, others, you know, and ChatGPT. How do you ensure authenticity? Yep. Yeah, you want to take that question?
Okay, short answer is, please make use of ChatGPT if you're comfortable to use it. Nothing wrong with using it, okay? In Temasek Polytechnic, we encourage students to use ChatGPT because why? It is a resource like Google, okay? So in the same way, when it comes to your write-up, you can use ChatGPT, but you got to pump in something in order for ChatGPT to give you something else, give you an input that is useful. So for instance, if you have taken part in certain activities and you have won awards, or you have done some part-time work, you can throw that in, ask a question in a way that will allow you to do your write-up better. You can do that by all means. Why? Because as long as you personalize it to you, it will be of interest to us. Okay?
Yeah, in fact, I would say if I were to, if the student were, I suppose, honest enough to say that actually I did use ChatGPT for this, but I realized that I shouldn't be taking it wholesale and passing it off for my own work because integrity is involved. I do want to share. So this also shows me that the student is current because you know that this is happening and you're using it wisely. In fact, maybe you can even score bonus points, because you've been honest rather than, trying to hide. Because there are ways of finding out. Because our educators have seen a lot of this coming through as well. So we do have a community that, looks at, okay, how do we detect, how do we address? I was just, again, going back to Eileen's point as a parent, I think we do try to also help our children. I guess the question is, how much help should we give to our children? We're just wondering whether, you would have a thought on that. Peter, you're a parent as well, and you've been in Ministry of Education looking at such, discussions. Yeah. So actually, how would you advise?
Yeah, thanks, Anita. The fact of the question is, there is very limited things that we can assess from the 600-character write-up, to be honest. So as long as your write-up does not make us scratch our head and wonder, how come you're applying for this course? Because to talk totally about different things, we will tend to accept everybody, give everybody the benefit of the doubt and filter actually a lot of people through to the next round, which for popular courses, there will be I think a more accurate test of the aptitude and the interest of the students for the particular course. So for example, for IT, you need to take a quiz to assess whether you have that computational thinking abilities, for example. And for psychology, they will also administer some online tests to see whether you have that aptitude. And psychology actually have a lot of mathematics involved, so maybe some mathematical skills as well. Yeah. So that's the reality of it, because from the write-up, to be honest, it's actually pretty difficult to ascertain based on that 400, 600 characters, whether you have what it takes, to come through the course.
A question here about if I am successfully accepted and I change my mind, I want to go to JC or another polytechnic. Is that okay?
The answer is no. If you have accepted an EAE place that has been offered to you, and you do not withdraw from that EAE placement at the end of towards the end of the year, I believe it's in October, before you sit for the O-level exams. Likewise, for the IT students, you need to withdraw if you wish to come out of the EAE at a particular point in time in October. Then that place is locking. It is a commitment on the part of the Polytechnic to say we are keeping that place for you, and we will accept you into that place even if your O-level results happen to be above our cutoff point, but as long as 26 points and below, your place is secure. So it's a commitment on our part. Likewise, for you in accepting the place, you're also committed to that placement. What that means is that when it comes to JAE, with your O-level results, you're not able to do JAE at all, okay? You try and get into the JAE system, you are not able to go in because you are no longer eligible for JAE. You cannot be applying for another poly or another JC, okay? You cannot change your mind at that point. So the answer is no. What if you say, I will not come into TP, into the EAE place, I will try and go somewhere else. You can do that, but then you have to find other means of getting into the JC that is not through JAE.
This philosophy is similar for direct school admissions. When you apply to a secondary school via DSA or apply to a JC via DSA, and like what Chuning has mentioned, it is really because the institution, whether is it secondary school, JCs or the polytechnics, have made a commitment to reserve a place for you because you have gone through the EAE process and we see that you are suitable to be admitted to the course. And likewise, we expect the commitment to be two ways, to be from the student to us as well. So that's why, across the entire ministry, the GenEd side, general education side, and the higher education side, we have this pretty strict rule that if once you have accepted EAE, you're committed to it. So which is why you need to think through very carefully. Certainly doesn't stop you from applying, but once we offer you a place, please think through carefully. Whether, at the end of the day, is it a course that you really want to do, and whether the polytechnic pathway is a pathway that, you will be confident that you can do well in and you have a passion in.
Maybe a good juncture to also talk a little bit about JC education versus poly education, from a parent's perspective, what would help them make that decision and help their child?
Yeah. So, well, I think many of us will probably come through the JC system in the past. I think that was a more common pathway. But today, actually 50%, at least 50% of every birth cohort will come through the polytechnics. And the reason why that is the case, I can attribute to a few reasons. One is because I think students these days, you are probably more familiar with what you may want to do, because there are a lot more information being available through the World Wide Web, through various other platforms in terms of career opportunities. I think at the school level, they're also doing a very good job in education and career guidance as well. So you are quite sure, about your interests, and the polytechnics does offer you, an opportunity to be trained for the area of your interests. And so many people do tend to choose the polytechnics. That's one reason. Second reason is because the polytechnics does offer students a lot more opportunities and pathways after you have graduated from the polytechnics. Today, on average, for TP, around 40 to 45% of our cohort will enter into the autonomous universities in Singapore, which is the NUS, NTU, SUTD, SUSS, and SMU. So it is a pretty high percentage. For some of the courses, the proportion of students entering the universities in Singapore is even higher. I would say maybe sometimes even higher than some of the junior colleges. So the opportunities for students in terms of their progression beyond polytechnic has also widened. You can choose to go to work, which is something that we encourage, or you can choose to go to the university immediately, as compared to the past where once you graduated from the polytechnic, the proportion of students entering into universities, the local ones, maybe just about 10-15%. So these days it is for TP roughly about 40 to 45%, quite a significant number. We do believe in training our students for both for work and for life. That's still our mission. So if you have an aim of going into the university, immediately after your graduation, the Polytechnic may not be the best pathway for you, because we do still have the philosophy of preparing you for the workplace. But that doesn't mean that you're not well prepared for the university, because our students who enter the university immediately after graduating, largely because they are continue to be driven by the passion for the subject, and they still continue to want to pursue, say, engineering after they have done an engineering diploma course. The students do very, very well. And the universities these days also see a benefit of taking in a mix of students from the junior college and the polytechnics, because it provides a lot of diversity to the class and give students different perspectives. So that is the approach and the philosophy that the polytechnics are taking, which is really to train you for the workplace and to make sure that you're well prepared for the workplace. But having said so, it doesn't mean that the students are not well prepared for the universities even after they have graduated from the polytechnics, because we do see our students continue to do very well in the universities. One interesting story that the professors in the university share with us is when they have when the students have to do a project, the JC students will make sure they choose the Polytechnic student as their partner or to be part of the team, because the Polytechnic students know exactly what they have to do when they go into the lab or the workshop. And the Polytechnic students will choose a student from the JC because the students from JC maybe typically can write better or they can present better. Stereotypes, I know, but this is how the students are also trying to see how they can leverage on each other's strengths and their background and appreciate the diversity of students coming from different courses and different backgrounds. So there's, if you want to choose between JC and Polys, there's something that you have to bear in mind. Do you have a passion for a particular area of study? If you have, then I think or a particular area of work that you want to do, if you have, then the Polytechnics pathway may be more suitable for you. Are you someone who also prefers the more project-based kind of curriculum? Because this is what the Polytechnics do as well. We don't have, concentrate all the marks in one year-end exam like the O-levels and A-levels. Instead, you have to be very consistent in your work. You have to be participating in projects, and the work that you do ultimately add on to the GPA that you accumulate at the end of the year. Whereas for A-levels, I mean, I'm a student who participate very actively in CCA and then chiong, at the last 2 or 3 months just to prepare for my A-levels. And if you're the kind of student, then maybe the A-level pathway may be more suitable for you. So talk to our colleagues to find out more about the course of study, how we prepare you for work and for studies in the university subsequently, and to help you to make a more considered decision as to whether the JC or the Polytechnic pathway may be more suitable for you or for your child.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're very happy to continue the conversations. I hope the session has been helpful. We are talking on a very generic sense, of course, and now is the opportunity to go down to the specific schools that you've signed up for, and you can ask a very course-specific, school-specific, and domain-specific questions. So with that, thank you, Peter Chun Ling, and I wish you a very good rest of the day. We'll be around should you want to continue to talk to us. Yeah.
So all the best. Thank you very much, everyone. All the best for the EAE process, and certainly all the best for your preparation for your O-levels as well. It is not just today that there's an only opportunity for you to find out about TP, about the courses that we offer. At any point in time, if you want to find out more, please drop by. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. outside of today. You can also go to our website. A lot of information are available there. We also have a chatbot, that can answer many of the questions that you have about EAE, about polytechnic education, about specific courses. And particularly, how do you choose between TP, engineering course in TP versus engineering course in, say, Ngee or Sing Poly or Nanyang. So these are, some of the questions, valid questions that you have. Please visit our website, come and talk to us. Yeah. All right, thanks very much, everyone, and have a good day ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Lam, Ms. Kwan, and Mr. Seng for the very engaging and informative session. I'm sure our audience have learned a great deal from you. To sum it up, the EAE is about passion and personality. It gives you or your child a peace of mind to focus on your O-level examinations, knowing that you have secured a place in your course of interest.
With that, we have come to the end of the Q&A session. And to our home audience, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you in TP soon. If you want more information on Temasek Polytechnic, do follow us on our social media pages and see what we have to offer. And now, we are set for our next event.